Ahmad Wab, Panyuwa Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the day of Judas. Barakata Yahweh Basham Yahweh Shai Asherai Natamanawa Ayawam Yahweh Bashalawam the water Amen. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the day of Judas and peace. Thank you, so be it. Alima Asherai Machad, Psalms 121. Anya Harayam Mayimya O Harayam Mayan Yabawa Izorya Yabawa Mayahawa Shai Shemayim Waratza La Yanathan Lamawat Regalia Yela Yanawam Joshua Marka Hanad La Yanawam Wala Yashan Shashramar Yashrale Yahweh Shemaria Yahweh Shtazalia Ayo Yad Yim Yad Yawamam Hashemash La Kaya Wayarak La Balayala Yahweh Yashamaria Makao Rai Yashamar Napasha Yahweh Yashamar Awalakya Wabuaya my fat will I will Basham Yahweh Shai for water man. Psalms 121, the Song of Degrees. I've lifted up mine eyes into the hills from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Amen. Shema Yasharallah, Hero Israel. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Ahoynawa, Yahweh, Akhed. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Ahoynawa, Yahweh, Akhed. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Ahoynawa, Yahweh, Akhed. Deuteronomy 6 and 4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen. Tzapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa Shabbat Shemayim Kudash Hayya Shemka Yahweh Malakwakab Ratazawanka Hayya Aisha Baratza Kabashemayim Nathalanawa Lacham Yawam Sad Wasalak Nawa Kabawat Nawa Kasalak Nawa Kabawat Yanawa Wala Abiyar Nawa All Nasaiwan Abo Hawashai Nawa Murai Kaya laka Hamalekwath wa ala wa thaparath wa ulam man. Matthew 6 and 9. After this manner, therefore, pray our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. Ha'ash Shara Matazawaf, the Ten Commandments. La'ab, Yahayab, La'kab, Alahayim, Akharim, Alpinyab, La'ab, Thaishab, La'kab, Paso, Wala'ab, Thaibadam, La'ab, Thalakwaka, Shamwab, Yahawab, Alahayakab, Lashawab, Zakab, Af, Hayawam, Hashabath, Lakodashwa, Kabad, Abiyaka, Wa Amaka, La'ab, Thuratazak, La'ab, Tana'ab, La'ab, Taganab, La'ab, Thainad, Shakur, La'ab, Thachamad, Ko, Asherab, Lara'ayaka, Aman. Exodus 20 and 3. Thou shalt have no gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, nor thy maidservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Honor thy father and thy mother, that thy days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen. Yeshua, please be seated. Parwakataya Hawa, by Shemi Hawa Shai, Ashara, from the Nawa Paria, Gapan Thawara Aman. La Yahweh by Shemi Hawa Shai, Af Yashar Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. Amadwa, Panyua Yerushalayim, stand to face Jerusalem. Barakatha Yahweh, Haggadah, Rakawam, Abiyar, Wanawa Al Yawan, Malak, Shal Shamayim Warataza Wakal Tabarium Kayayam Wagam Hamashayak Maya Hawa Nawa Habnawa Hapalab Yawa Aitaza Yahawashai Zakarnawa Yahawa Baratazawan Ainka Yashala Zarnawa Bana Wasap Yashala Oh na nawa yam yan aifa kayawam yam makwadam babakusha shalak maika ala watazwadak alahayam la maganawa rabhanawa washamar alnawa bakwa shalak Haroka shal Yahushai Lanawa Lalamanawa Rabiam Kakamab Tabawana Wada Aif Shal the Barka Basham Yahushai the Wada Tham Yad Waiwalam Aman. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth and all things living, and also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember Yahweh favorably, your people Israel. Help us build and gather Israel, Most High, we beg you right now, like the days of old. Please send Michael and righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Repeat the Hebrew only. Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Nathan Lanawa, Hatawarat. Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Nathan Lanawa, War, Lara Awat. Blessed are you, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherab, Nathan Lanawa, Karan, Hayo, Lakorab, Ha'aim. Shabbat, be seated. So, shalom, everybody here in Philly. Shalom, everybody watching on live stream, and shalom, everyone listening on teleconference. Welcome to Yashar al-Kanas, or the Congregation of Israel, where we teach that the so-called descendants of slaves, as well as the so-called indigenous found in North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean mainly, make up the southern and northern kingdoms of the 12 tribes of Israel. And we fall into a lower state, politically, economically, even religiously, because we broke the laws of God found in the Bible, given to us by Moses. And we come out of this low state that we fall into as a people by turning back to these commandments we broke, by following Jesus Christ as our example. And when we do that is by remembering the righteous sacrifices made of our forefathers aforetime, and The days set up to commemorate them standing for truth and righteousness, especially during times of extreme danger and when doubt was certainly an idea or a thought as far as whether or not Israel will be delivered out of said peril we were facing at that time. We come together tonight to remember one of our great forefathers, one of the sons of Mattathias, Judas, called Maccabeus, which translated means hammer because he delivered hammer-like blows to the enemy. And we remember tonight because this day is named for him, as he was a key factor in delivering us from the onslaught of the heathen. At this time, when he was alive, it was the Greeks. So this was around the early 160s BC. Most scholars point this time to be about 161 BC for the events of the day of Judas. So that's why we come together tonight to remember the day of Judas in this particular year, the 12th month and the 13th day of the month. So my name is Nabiad Zarepabal. I'll be doing the service tonight. Just write down for your notes. Today is March 5th, 2020, according to the Gregorian calendar. But according to our Hebrew calendar, it would be, as I just stated, 12th month and the 13th day. You can find the details of the day of Judas in the books of 1st and 2nd Maccabees, namely 1st Maccabees chapter 7. You can find the same details with some added context also in 2nd Maccabees, the last two chapters, which are 14 and 15. For the sake of time, given that it's pretty late in the evening, we're just going to read through 7. And I suggest that you read 2nd Maccabees 14 and 15 sometime this day. If not tonight, then sometime tomorrow if you have spare time in your day. Hopefully you do. If you're not able to take off, it's okay. But if you do have spare time, even if you're working or not working, I definitely recommend reading those last two chapters, as it will cover the same details as we read in 1st Maccabees 7, but going into some added details. Now, remember, this is during the time of the Greek occupation. They were the top empire on the earth, and we're dealing with the Seleucid dynasty, one of 4 dynasties that came after, I should say, Alexander's rule. And we're dealing with the rulership of that particular dynasty, the Seleucids. And the particular person who's in charge at this time, then it became Demetrius Soter, who has a stake or has laid a claim on ruling over the Seleucid dynasty. So let's go to 1st Maccabees chapter 7 and verse 1. All right, let's see here. Okay, so this is First Maccabees chapter 7 and verse 1. So it reads, in the 150th year, Demetrius, son of Seleucus, departed from Rome and came up with a few men unto a city of the seacoast and reigned there. This Demetrius being Demetrius Soda, who, like we mentioned before, has a claim to the Seleucid dynasty, right? Coming from the first Seleucus that founded this particular dynasty. So reading on in verse 2, it says, and as he entered into the palace of his ancestors, and his hope, Antiochus IV, was that this Antiochus here in verse 2 is his son, Antiochus V, Eupator. And Lysias was one of his top generals. He was one assigned to protect him, right? And to preside over the kingdom, at least until Antiochus V was of age. But Demetrius sought to take over the power of this fourth branch of the dynasty, of the empire of the Greeks. Reading on in verse 3, it says, wherefore, when he knew it, he said, let me not see their faces. So his host slew them. Now, when Demetrius was set up on the throne of his kingdom, there came unto him all the wicked and ungodly men of Israel, having alchemists, who was desirous to be high priest for their captain. So now you have a wicked band of Israel going to side themselves or to partner up with these wicked rulers, because remember, Judas Maccabeus and those that are with him, his brothers and those that were following righteousness, were building momentum. But you still had an element of Israel that were sold to do mischief and sold out for the main power at that time, which was the Greeks. You see here this particular alchemist, he could lay claim to priesthood being from the sons of Aaron, even though physically having that lineage, we know spiritually, as we're going to read, he was very foul. He didn't follow the righteousness of God in Christ. It says in verse 6, and they accused the people to the king, saying, Judas and his brethren have slain all thy friends and driven us out of our own land. Now therefore send some man whom thou trustest, and let him go and see what havoc he hath made among us and in the king's land, and let him punish them with all them that aid them. So much for this priest, son of Aaron, kissing the behind of these Greeks, right? Saying that, yeah, the land belongs to them, right? And shame on this Judas Maccabeus, who also comes from the house of Aaron, for standing up for righteousness to actually establish Israel to be sovereign once again. So throughout the different captivities, even in this captivity now, you'll always have Israel that'll side with the heathen, unfortunately. Thank goodness this is the last captivity. We know that only those Israel that side with righteousness, that are part of that 1/3, are going to be the ones to be delivered in the end. It says in verse 8, then the king chose Bacchides, a friend of the king who ruled beyond the flood or the river, and was a great man, because remember the Tigris and Euphrates, they went through the region where the Seleucid dynasty was, right? Because it expanded out that far. It says, and him, it says, and was a great man in the kingdom and faithful to the king. So this Bacchides figure they were looking to him as being what? A faithful figure to carry out this mission. It says in verse 9, in him he sent with that wicked alchemist whom he made high priest and commanded that he should take vengeance of the children of Israel. So he had this guy partner up with alchemist, this wicked high priest, wicked son of Aaron, because I have a right to call him a high priest, given the example that he set for himself. It says that he desires to be high priest, even though he's not deserving of the title. And trying to get it through wicked means, through siding with the Greek authority. It says, so they departed and came with a great power into the land of Judea, where they sent messengers to Judas and his brethren with peaceable words, deceitfully, right? So they're talking up a good game to try to what? Throw them off, to deceive them, right? Because we know in warfare, deception is a key thing to use, right? Using deception as an asset or as a tool to throw your enemy off, to make them think that your intentions are one thing when there's something else. It says, but they gave no heed to their words, for they saw that they were come with a great power. So they didn't take the words to heart, right? Because remember, Judas, being the captain of the host, being a man of war, he had understanding of these things, as did the other men that were leading with him, including his brother Simon, whose strength was in counsel, as far as that being his strong suit. We're in our first Maccabees 7 and 11 now.
Wow.
Come. So verse 11 reads, but they gave no heed to their words, for they saw that they were come with a great power. Verse 12, then did there assemble unto Alchemists and Bacchades a company of scribes to require justice. Now, the Assyrians were the first among the children of Israel that sought peace of them. Remember, the Assyrians were a group of Israelites that followed righteousness, right? We were reading about them earlier on in the books of the chapters of First Maccabees, right? And they were allied unto Judas and those that were following him. It says, for said they, one that is a priest of the seed of Aaron is come with this army, and he will do us no wrong, right? So they saw Alchemist's pedigree and said, okay, these are the sons of Aaron, right? We should break bread with him, not knowing that this alchemist, even though he came from that righteous bloodline, his spirit wasn't right. He was an evil man. It says in verse 15, so he spake unto them peaceably and sware unto them, saying, we will procure the harm neither of you nor your friends. Whereupon they believed him, howbeit he took of them 60 men and slew them in one day, according to the words which he wrote. So he deceived them. It says that he slew 60 of them, which is 20 times 3 or 60. This is what you wrote. 17, the flesh of thy saints had they cast out, and their blood had they shed round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. Right? So this here being a prophecy fulfilled, not a good prophecy, but a prophecy nonetheless. You can just link with 7 and 17 of First Maccabees. This links with Psalms 79th chapter. Psalm 79th chapter and you can read verses 2 and 3. You can read that, Gabar Baba Kushan. It would be much appreciated. Psalm 79, 2 and 3, linking with First Maccabees 7, 17.
Psalm 79, verses 2 and 3. The dead bodies of thy servants have they given to be meat unto the fowls of the heaven, the flesh of thy saints unto the beasts of the earth. Their blood have they shed like water round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them.
Right. So this prophecy now being fulfilled in the time of the Maccabees due to this deceitful son of Aaron, right, using his holy lineage to throw off these righteous Assyrians off. So let's go back to First Maccabees chapter 7. Let's read on in verse 18. So First Maccabees chapter 7 and verse 18, it reads, "Wherefore the fear and dread of them fell upon all the people who said, there is neither truth nor righteousness in them. They have broken the covenant and the oath that they made." Right? They agreed to do one thing and did something else. These guys are treacherous, right? Then it says in verse 19, after this removed Bacchades from Jerusalem, the guy that was of the Greeks, that was partnered with the alchemists, a Hebrew, but a wicked one, right? Like we've been reading. It says he pitched his tents in Bezeth, where he sent and took many of the men that had forsaken him, and certain of the people also. And when he had slain them, he cast them into the great pit. Then committed he the country to alchemists and left with him the power to aid him. So Bacchades went to the king, right? So he did some more slaughtering, some more clearing out of land, this place Bezeth, and then let alchemists reside there and went back to the king. It says, but alchemists contended for the high priesthood, and unto him resorted all such as troubled the people, who after they had gotten the land of Judah in their power, did much hurt in Israel. So now these brothers with alchemists are wreaking all types of havoc in the Holy Land now. Right now, they've had some help from the Greeks to get there and to get in power. It says 23, now when Judas saw all the mischief that alchemists and his company had done among the Israelites, even above the heathen, right? So this is a shame, right? Because, nobody should do wickedness, but for Israel to go even beyond the heathen, right? That's not a good look. It's not a good look at all, right? Doing wickedness is enough, but to go beyond. So the link with us 7 and 22, this is an admonition from the prophet Jeremiah during his time, when we were under the Babylonians were the top power at that time. And we were leading up to, during the time of Jeremiah's prophecy, it was a time leading up to Israel falling into captivity. We had our last righteous king in the southern kingdom, Judah, Josiah, and those that followed him did wickedly, which led up to the Babylonians taking us over. As we see, we're fighting with the Greeks during this time of Maccabees. But just real quick, Jeremiah chapter 5. Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 25 to 29. If you can read that too, Baba Kushan. Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 25 down to 29, and link that with 1 Maccabees 7:22.
Okay, Jeremiah chapter 5 and verse 25. all the way down to 29. Your iniquities have turned away these things, and your sins have withholding good things from you.
Right. So just like now, same as then. If we sin, which is transgressing the law, which is iniquity, the Most High will withhold the good things from us, this blessing. Read on.
For among my people are found wicked men. They lay wait as he that setteth snares. They set a trap. They catch men.
Right. So we got alchemists pretty much fitting the bill for what we're reading right here in Jeremiah, right? He's definitely an example of this, right? The wickedness amongst Israel that have been sold to do mischief. Read on.
As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. Therefore, they are become great and waxen rich.
Right. So the same way a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit, right? And we see that alchemists employed that to kill many of the Assyrians, right? By deceiving them. It says they have become great and waxen rich. So they go about doing things the wicked worldly way, and they prosper because of it. Instead of trusting in the Lord, they trust in the arm of man, right? Like it tells you also in other places of Jeremiah, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, right? Or his strength. And that's what we see alchemists doing, making his pact with these Greeks. Read on in 28.
They are waxen fat. They shine. Yea, they overpass the deeds of the wicked.
So there's it is right there, same statement, right? So we read in Maccabees. And going even above and beyond what the wicked do. Yet they're supposed to be God's people. Alchemists supposed to be not only just of the children of Israel, but him coming from a special family, the line of Aaron. We know within all 12 tribes, we're the chosen nation. There's only two families that have been set apart for a specific purpose. One of those families is the descendants of Aaron. The other one, of course, being the descendants of David. Those two families are reckoned, right? As far as one producing kings in Israel, the other one producing priests in Israel. Alchemists came from that holy priestly line. Look at how he's shaming his heritage, right? By doing this. You can read on.
They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper, and the right of the needy do they not judge.
See that? So they judge not the cause of the fatherless. Remember in the law it says you're not supposed to oppress the fatherless or the widow, right? Those that aren't strong, those that are weak, right? Those that don't have the needed protection. It says they prosper still, even though they kind of lead them out there. Don't judge in their favor. So the right of the needy, they do not judge. Check out 29, and we'll go back to Maccabees.
Shall I not visit for these things, saith the Lord? Shall not my soul be avenged on such a nation as this?
Right, so rhetorical question, right? No need to answer. It should be known already that, yes, the Most High is going to visit, right? The Most High will come on down, right? So let's read. Let's go back to First Maccabees 7. Let's continue. So First Maccabees 7, now we're in 23. First Maccabees 7 and 23, it reads, Now when Judas saw all the mischief that Alchemists and his company had done among the Israelites, even above the heathen, he went out into all the coasts of Judea round about, took vengeance of them that had revolted from him, so that they durst no more go forth into the country. On the other side, when Alchemists saw that Judas and his company had gotten the upper hand, knew that he was not able to abide their force, he went again to the king and said all the worst of them that he could. Right? So making flesh his arm once again because he sees he can't match Judas, you know, strength for strength. Now he's, running to his heathen protector, right? Oh my God, look, they fighting, they're gonna kill us. I need more enforcements or reinforcements. It says 26, then the king sent Nicanor. So this is also known for him, this day of Judas, because not only is it known as the day of Judas, but it's also known as we're going to read the destruction of Nicanor. So we also remember the Most High bringing this man down. We're going to see why he was brought down. It's funny too, because even with his name, Nicanor, you look up that name in the Greek, right? We got the sneakers that are called Nikes, right? That a lot of athletes wear. That name Nike comes from the Greeks, right? The goddess Nike, who is the goddess of victory. That's what that translates into. Anytime you see a name that begins with Nike or Nick or Nika, like Nicholas, for example. So Nicanor literally means victory of man or victorious man. So it's ironic him having that name in the Greek, right? Being named for the goddess of victory. But if we read, we're going to see that he's not going to have victory. He's going to fall. It says, I'll read 26 again. It says, then the king sent Nicanor, one of his honorable princes, a man that bare deadly hate unto Israel, with commandment to destroy the people. So Nicanor came to Jerusalem with a great force, said unto Judas and his brethren deceitfully with friendly words, saying, so more tricks using wordplay, right? To get them to lower their defenses. What's he going to say? Let there be no battle between me and you. I will come with a few men that I may see you in peace. Right? Trying to get him to get his guard down, right? Saying, hey, look, you don't need to arm yourself, to protect yourself like that. I'm going to come with a small force. Right? 29, he came therefore to Judas, and they saluted one another peaceably. Howbeit the enemies were prepared to take away Judas by violence, which thing after it was known to Judas to wit, that he came at him with deceit, he was sore afraid of him and would see his face no more. Nicanor also, when he saw that his counsel was discovered, went out to fight against Judas beside Capharsalma. So he said, okay, I gotta fight this guy anyway. Because my scheme didn't work. He peaked game, as they say. Where there were slain of Nicanor's side about 5,000 men, and the rest fled into the city of David. Right? Because remember, they still have the capital city locked down. Remember, the city of David's talking about where Jerusalem was, right? That city being named for him, even though technically it was in the plot of Benjamin. It was named for him going back to the time when he first established the United Kingdom, going back to around 1000 BC. 33, after this went Nicanor up to Mount Zion, right? That's the mount, of course, where we had the temple set up, which a couple chapters previous we read about during a time of the Feast of Dedication where they rededicated the altar, right? That had been defiled by these Greeks, right? And then cleaned the temple up. It says, after this went Nicanor up into Mount Zion, and there came out of the sanctuary certain of the priests and certain of the elders of the people, to salute him peaceably and to show him the burnt sacrifice that was offered for the king. Right? So they were doing the righteous thing, and they say, look, even for your king, we've done a burnt sacrifice, a burnt offering. Right? Just to as an act of peace, an act of what? Well-being, wishing well-being when it came to their king. Right? Just like you might hear in today's time, or when it comes to like Britain, for example, be like a common saying. People would say, God save the queen, right? Or God save the king, right? As far as may the king and queen do well, right? It says, but he mocked them and laughed at them and abused them shamefully and spake proudly. So he could care less about this kind gesture, right? It says in 35, and swear in his wrath, saying, unless Judas and his host be not delivered into my hands, if I ever come again in safety, I will burn up this house. And with that, he went out in a great rage. Right? So this guy is, like we talked about before, this guy is foul, right? We see how Alchemist is foul, one of our people. Look at this Greek, and look at the way he's speaking against God's people, against the Most High's temple. It says, 36, then the priest entered in and stood before the altar and temple, weeping and saying, thou, O Lord, didst choose this house to be called by thy name, and to be a house of prayer and petition for thy people. So them calling back to what one of the prophets of old mentioned as far as the role that God's house should serve. So to link with 7 and 37, let's get this. Go to Isaiah 56. It's a future prophecy, but it was the way it was intended from the beginning. Even if many things had to happen before this would be ultimately fulfilled. You can read that too, Baba Goshan. Just verse 7 will do. Isaiah 56 and verse 7.
Isaiah 56 and verse 7 says, even them will I bring to my holy mountain and make them joyful in my house of prayer. Their burnt offerings and their sacrifices shall be accepted upon mine altar. For my house shall be called a house of prayer for all people.
Right. So sometimes the so-called Christians may point at this and then put their doctrine on top that says all nations will be saved. But now we know what this is talking about. This is talking about in the kingdom, right? Where this will be ultimately fulfilled, which is where all nations are going to come to Jerusalem, right? To learn of the ways of the Most High, right? Because right now that's not happening, which is more proof that the people there now aren't God's people, that they're frauds, imposters, right? Synagogue of Satan, as they're properly referred to in Revelations, 3rd chapter. So in the future, and we're part of that prophecy now, those of us that are coming back to this knowledge, is what? Them coming to learn the commandments of God and to do the commandments of God, to hear it and to perform it, and to take it back to their respective lands throughout. At least those that survived the Third World War when Christ comes to establish our rule back again. So Isaiah 56 and 7 linked with 1 Maccabees 7:37. Let's continue on in verse 38. So 1 Maccabees 7 and 38 reads, to be avenged of this man and his host, and let them fall by the sword, remember their blasphemies, and suffer them not to continue any longer. Right? So a proper prayer against this Nicanor, right, who seeks to do harm against God's people and his temple, right, which is, remember, the temple is always supposed to be a reflection of the state of the people, right? As long as you had a temple. Like if the temple was, adorned and, the priests were doing the righteous work inside the temple and they were, not corrupt. That usually was a sign that what Israel was in a good estate. But the temple was overthrown and given unto harlotry and idols and uncleanness. That usually was a reflection too of the state of the people at that time. We look now today, you go to that same place where the temple was, it's gone, right? You got heathen over there, having tours, people walking, through our holy city, with frauds there fighting over that land. It doesn't belong to them. Let alone other wickedness that's allowed to go on in the Holy Land. Everything from child sex slavery to gay parades to all different types of wickedness, dealing with idolatry. So let's go back to 1 Maccabees 7. Let's read on. 39. So Nicanor went out of Jerusalem and pitched his tents in Beth-horon, where an host out of Syria met him. Judas pitched in Adasa with 3,000 men, and there he prayed, saying, O Lord, when they that were sent from the king of the Assyrians blasphemed, thine angel went out and smote 180,000 of them. Even so destroyed this host before us this day, that the rest may know that he hath spoken blasphemously against thy sanctuary, and judge thou him according to his wickedness. Right? So once again, Judas calling upon things written aforetime to encourage the people with him, right? Looking to the times before that the Most High Deliverer is saying, he did it first before, he can certainly do it again, right? So to link with 41 of 1 Maccabees 7, we can write this link. We could link this with 2 Kings. Second Kings you guys just read this too in the Sabbath service. I think Kanyal Kanan read something along this line. 2 Kings chapter 19. 35 to 37. You can read that too, Baba Kushah. 2 Kings 19, 35 to 37. Maybe it'll ring a bell. You can read that once you have
Second
it.
Kings chapter 19, verse 35 to 37. And it came to pass that night that the angel of the Lord went out and smote in the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses.
Right. So this being when the Assyrians, they were another dominant empire, right, in the earth, similar to the Babylonians during the time of Jeremiah, and similar to the Greeks now in the time of Judas Maccabeus, right? But look what happened here, right? It says, the angel of the Lord. So it didn't even say a host of angels, it just said one. Now, this must have been a really bad angel, right? I say bad, I mean, in a good way.
Wow.
Yeah. To take out this many, almost 200,000 men. It says when they woke up in the morning and checked it, because remember, you read above, the king of Assyria, Sennacherib, he had the holy city surrounded. Hezekiah told, his people, his court, he said, hold fast, we're going to pray to the Lord tonight. He's going to deliver us from this, ensuing army. So they had the whole city surrounded with thousands of soldiers. He said almost 200,000. You can read on in verse 36.
Verse 36. So when Sennacherib, king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh.
Right, that's one of their chief cities, right? Like their capital city. Read on 37.
And it came to pass, as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, that Adram, Melech, and Sharezer, his sons, smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia. Mm-hmm. And Ezra Haddon, his son, reigned in his stead.
Right. So this King Sennacherib found quite a miserable end, to be slain by his own sons, right? Imagine that, It being ironic, too, that he had the nerve to go back to the house of his false god after seeing what our God did to his whole army. Just imagine the shame that will come with this, right? You losing almost 200,000 men, right? And how do you explain it? To your nation as the king.
And you went back and started praying to a false god. That's real bad. I should have told you right then and there, you ain't got the right God, dude.
Yeah. But it just shows you, too, even with, us having the Holy Spirit behind us, even with us doing greater and greater things as the time gets closer to Christ coming back, even in the midst of that Third World War, you read in the scriptures, you're still going to have the heathen, even some of us, cursing God, right? Trying to run from God, right? Trying to fight with the Most High, trying to fight with Christ, trying to fight with the angels, even in that day, even when they realize how futile it is to wage war with our power. Even in the midst of their death, they're still going to be fighting against them.
Is that the verse in Revelation where it said they gnawed their tongues for pain?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, you're gonna have certain souls that are going to go out who are going to go out rebellious to their bitter end. That's why I laugh when people come to the camp and gainsay when we're out there teaching, us or any other camp, and they want to mock. And they say, "Oh, you guys are supposed to be, the prophets of God. You're supposed to be the true prophets. You guys have all the answers. All right, well, if you're God, then if you're really dealing with the true God as you claim, do a miracle, make fire fall from heaven. Give us a show." It's just like, one, who are you to demand a show from the Most High, the true and living God? And two, even if we did, the way your heart is, you would have an answer for it anyway. You'd have an excuse. You'd have an explanation. How do we know? You did the same thing to Yahushua, right? They saw Yahushua do miracles. What did they say? Oh, he hath a devil. Oh, he did that through the prince of devils, right? So they didn't believe him. So yeah, we could call fire from heaven, right? If it be the Most High's will at the camp. He can come down and, fall wherever the Most High wills it. You would have an answer for that. Now, see, that was just a coincidence, It was just a meteor, blah, 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 right? Meteors come in to the atmosphere all the time, and that one just, that one just made it, to where you guys were teaching. There's got to be an explanation. So that would be their response. They'd have some kind of answer. But anything but the Most High, anything but the true and living God did it. And that we are truly his representatives. So that's the heart of unbelief, right? That you see that the heathen and even our people have. And we see here Nicanor, he has it. Some change though, but they change up because the pain is so bad. right? They're getting jacked up by our God so bad, right? That then they'll change and they'll repent, but it's too late though. Sometimes they won't. What were you about to say?
The ones that are in the army, they have to go by their orders to fight against God if their general tells them to do that. So that it's not their will, they just army men, they doing what they're instructed to do. That's what I always wondered about that part. So if your general tells you to shoot at God, I mean, what do you do? That's insubordination if you don't do that.
Sure, but if if you're if you guys are getting creamed and clearly you see it, no matter what you do, the angels are cutting you guys down left and right.
Right. Right.
Retreat, right? Or
well, a smart person would
surrender, right?
Uh-huh.
Or surrender, right?
A smart person would do that, but some people under orders will follow orders to the death. A good soldier is going to follow orders to the death.
Scriptures speak on both scenarios happening. That's what we're talking about.
Uh-huh.
So it's going to be both.
So, I mean, those people are still going to be delivered, but they're going to get the hellfire, right? That's what you're saying. Because all Israel going to be saved, but they're just going to have to go through the hellfire for doing it.
Yeah. The 2/3 of Israel is going to die.
And that's part of the 2/3, the ones that's fighting against God in the army.
I guess some of them, but mostly the heathen though.
What do you mean?
Because they're the main ones going to be fighting with Most High Christ and the angels. Because remember, it's going to be Babylon the Great on one side, which is going to be, Esau mixed with, whoever they got in their army. That's of the dark nations, which some of it may be us, against Russia and their allies. Right? Because you got Gog Magog and all their allies of them going toe to toe with Babylon the Great and all of her allies, or America and all her allies. They're going to come and meet and be fighting each other at the they call the Valley of Megiddo, or Armageddon, which just means Valley of Megiddo, a city in northern Israel. They're going to come and fight at that point. In the midst of them fighting, Christ and the angels are going to come back, and then all those folks are going to stop fighting each other in an attempt to fight Christ and the angels. Right. And after an hour's time, it's over.
Now, us that are in that army, you saying some of us going to be delivered right there because we just following orders.
Those that are going to be delivered of us are the ones following the Most High Christ's orders.
But if you're a good soldier, you're going to have to follow the orders of your captain, whether you're being defeated, obliterated or not. A good soldier, you got to do what your captain tell you to do.
You're not going to rebel against the Most High in Christ. If anything, you're going to be looking forward to that day.
Right. So what you going to run the opposite direction?
You won't have to run at all, because remember, before everything kicks off, those of us that are part of the 1/3, the chariot's going to come down and take us up.
Oh, so okay, you're going to have his soldier gear on, then he's just going to go up there from his army gear.
Whoever, it doesn't matter if you're in the army, whatever your job is, it doesn't matter. You're part of that 1/3, you're going to be taken up by chariots.
So then that means that we won't be in that the ones that's going to be taken up, they won't even be in that to fight against God.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. No, not they're repenting, not they're keeping the commandments.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I really wonder how many, well, I don't know, it seems like at least most Israel that we see in different camps. I mean, you might have some, I guess, where they work to do like security detail, but as far as folks that are like in the military or that are in armed forces or like police, it's kind of hard to find brothers and sisters that are at least that are in the police, that come into the truth, that stay in the police or stay in the armed forces. If they did have a background of it, they either come out already. Yeah, they've either like retired or doing something else, or they just come out of it altogether.
What's wrong?
But
They can still stay in the police as long as they do the right thing. If they see something that's corrupt, they don't have to participate in it.
I'm just going into what I've observed.
Okay.
So if you know,
Because we had, y'all wasn't here that
I
night.
just think it's interesting.
Y'all wasn't here that night. Two guys came by. They was before me. They was in the school before me.
Mhm.
And it wasn't two of them. It was one of them. But he said he had a partner, and they were both cops. And they was on the force, but they used to come here and study.
Yeah, I remember those brothers.
Okay, yeah. Well, they came here a couple months ago. But he's not in the police anymore. He got a night job or something. He works hard, though. That's why he wasn't able to come back. But
Yeah, that's
I mean, they ain't gonna quit his job.
that's what you're saying is what I'm talking about.
He didn't quit his job. He quit his job. I think he had a retirement and everything.
That's what I just said.
But you made it seem as if
I said they. It seems like they retire or they come out of it and are like doing something else. Like if they have been at least called into the truth. Like I said, they're just being called into the truth. You know, whether they left the force or not is not the ultimate, bearing on whether or not they get delivered. That's dealing with if they follow righteousness or not.
right.
I'm just saying
righteous.
the Most High, it's like from what I've seen, like I said, maybe examples that I'm not aware of, but just from what I've observed since my time in the truth, they'll somehow, some way come out of that and be doing something else, or they could be like private contractors. Like I've seen, it was this talk show back in the day, and it was a group of brothers. They went on a talk show. I think it is. I think it was this guy. It says he's kind of comes off as a sellout. Well, he is a sellout. But this guy, Jesse Lee Peterson, he has a show I think called The Fallen State. And I think some of it's on YouTube. I know he talked to an Israelite family. I think they came and sat down with him, but his questioning is really weird. Like he has these weird questions that kind of suit. Like I guess his line of questioning when he has certain people on his show, like intentionally support like a right wing conservative outlook. I'll just say it like that. But before that show, I remember I think it was in the '90s. He had some Israelites on his show, and it was like a talk show, kind of like a Oprah, like a Ricky Lake type setup, Jenny Jones type setup. He was a talk show host like that. He had some brothers on from the '90s. I'm not sure what camp they were. I guess they might have been with UPK before they split, but they had their own private security company. So they did it like privately. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he was asked them, what kind of work you guys do, this, that, and the third. And they were explaining to him, that was their job. That was what they did. So they had their own private security business. So
I'm still trying to figure out why would they come out because they called. I mean, you could still.
I guess the Mossad just didn't want them there for one reason or another.
Oh, okay.
So let's go back to 1 Maccabees 7. Let's finish. So we're in verse 43 now. 1 Maccabees 7:43. It says, "So the 13th day of the month Adar, host joined battle, but Nicanor's host was discomfited. He himself was first slain in the battle." All praise to the Most High, right? So, like I said, when you go into a 2 Maccabees 14 and 15, I recommend you guys do. We won't do it tonight for time's sake, but I recommend you do. It goes into a little bit more detail in the 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees 14 and 15 goes into the history for the day of Judas, along with 1 Maccabees 7. This is like the overview, and then there's the same details you find there with some added details.
Are those two chapters, or are you talking about 14 chapter, 15 verse?
2 chapters. It says, verse 44, "Now when Nicanor's hosts saw that he was slain, they cast away their weapons and fled, right? Because they say, strike the shepherd, the sheep will scatter. So their leader was taken out. So they hot-tailed out of there. 45, and they pursued after them a day's journey from Adasa unto Gazera, sounding an alarm after them with their trumpets. Right? So they fought them as they ran. Right? This is very reminiscent too. This kind of makes you think of the battle that Joshua fought against the Canaanites from Ai. Let me find that verse real quick. Hold on. Joshua. Let me give you the chapter. Hold on. I wasn't going to pull it originally, but it's reminding me of that now. Joshua chapter 8, I believe. Yes, Joshua chapter 8. You can start from, I'm going to do a whole bunch. When you check out this battle, it's pretty cool how they did it. Where when Joshua attacked them, it was like they were in a elevated position, Joshua and his army, and they came down upon them. But they came down upon them at a certain time in the morning, where the sun was behind them. So as you had the Hamites fighting them at the bottom of the hill as they're coming down the hill, it was hard. It's kind of like in the morning when you drive, you're driving into the sunrise, you can't really see what's happening, you know. Especially there's like no building to block the shade. It was like them trying to fight the Israelites with the sun behind them. So definitely they were at a disadvantage there. Yeah, 8, and we could read 24. Yeah, just the whole chapter is good, but just verse 24 for what we're talking about. So you can read that, Baba Gashai, Joshua 8 and 24.
And it came to pass, when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field and the wilderness wherein they chased them, and when they were all fallen on the edge of the sword, until they were consumed, that all Israelites returned unto Ai and smote it with the edge of the sword.
Right. So got into them chasing them. And then returning back to the city and taking care of the rest.
That's the same story where the sun stood still or something like that?
That's later on. That's chapter 10.
We don't say nothing about the sun in your verse. Why do you bring that up?
That's earlier. You read above.
Oh.
Okay, so let's go back. Let's go back to First Maccabees 7. So, verse 46, it says, whereupon they came forth out of all the towns of Judea round about, and closed them in, so that they, turning back upon them that pursued them, were all slain with the sword, and not one of them was left. So, utterly destroyed, like, for example, how Joshua dealt with those Canaanites. It says in 47, afterwards they took the spoils and the prey, and smote off Nicanor's head and his right hand, which he stretched out so proudly, and brought them away and hanged them up toward Jerusalem. Right? So took off his head and took off his arm too. Right? You read, like we read above in this chapter, you know, he swore in his wrath, so he spoke proudly, and then he had his hand like telling them off, right? So that was like the payback. To take that to show it as a symbol, to say, yeah, you buck up against Israel in righteousness, here's what will happen to you, right? So to cause fear in those heathen that would try to still fight against us, and to encourage Israel that what? The Lord was with us, the Lord was with Judas and his brethren, and to fight, and to defend the nation, defend the sanctuary. Verse 48, for this cause the people rejoiced greatly, and they kept that day a day of great gladness, referring to the 12th month and the 13th day, like we read in verse 43. It says, moreover, they ordained to keep yearly this day, being the 13th of Adar. So they will remember this year in and year out. So like this day, along with, the days of Purim are coming in tomorrow night and Saturday night. While they're not Sabbaths, they're still considered feast days, days that we come together to remember the Most High, remember his deliverance and how he saved us from our enemies, the other nations, and to remember the righteous example of who he used as vessels to do so. In this case, being Judas Maccabeus. In the case of Purim, Hadassah, also known as Esther, and Mordecai, her uncle. We'll read about them in the days coming up, tomorrow night and Saturday night. Then it says in verse 50, thus the land of Judah was in rest a little while. So after this great victory was definitely a time to rejoice. The war wasn't over, but we celebrated that great victory that the Most High allowed through his mercy, through his power. You can also just to link with that verse 49, 749, as well as 43. You can just link it with 2 Maccabees 15. And verse 36. That'll be our last verse before we close out. So read 2 Maccabees 15:36.
All right, 2 Maccabees 15 and 36. And they ordained all with a common decree, in no case to let that day pass without solemnity. solemnity.
Mhm.
But to celebrate the 13th day of the 12th month, which in the Syrian tongue is called Adar, the day before Mordecai's day.
Right. It's just showing at this time in the history, we were already keeping the Purim. That's what Mordecai's Day is talking about, right? Showing you that we would always keep this right before Mordecai's Day would come in, which would be the 14th or 15th day of the 12th month.
They came after Mordecai's day.
The day came before the Mordecai's Day, but it was celebrated after the events of Mordecai's Day. Make sense?
Right, because Mordecai's day happened in a earlier year than that.
Right.
That's why they was able to mention Mordecai's day.
Right. We're already celebrating that deliverance. This was later in history, the time of the Maccabees. This was after Purim, but before the time of Christ. It was like in between. Not exactly Old Testament, but before New Testament. Yeah. Con, so we'll make an end here. So, as I suggested before, definitely check out the other chapters, especially 14 and 15 of Second Maccabees, to get more details. Even look up certain figures, as I did on Wikipedia. You'll get some more background information on these guys, like Nicanor or like this particular Demetrius, and look for the. It should be around the year 161 BC. Because there's more than one Nicanor, just like there's more than one Demetrius that ruled amongst the Greeks. Make sure you have the right one in the right time in history. And there'll be like other interesting details that they'll provide, just to show that the Bible is indeed a book of history, right? And it should be revered as such, not just a quote unquote religious book, as many try to paint the Bible into that corner and just say, oh, it's just a feel good book, right? Right, to sing songs to, which that's definitely true, but that's just a piece of what the Bible is, right? Because the Bible is a book of law, right? It's a book of history. It's a book of wisdom and knowledge. It's also a book of prophecy. So it's many things, not just one thing. And there's plenty of other primary and secondary sources that aren't even Bible based that back up the events of the Bible. Right? We look at the ruins and different things taken from other empires, whether it be the Egyptians, the writings on their wall versus like the tablets of the Assyrians, the chronicles of the Persians and the Medes, as well as the chronicles of the Babylonians. You see that those primary sources for their history, right? Their records, their accounting, right? It coincides with the events you find right there in the scriptures. So if you don't want to believe in the Bible, all right, go to those primary sources. They're going to lead you right back to the Bible anyway. People still have the nerve to say, oh, the Bible is the book of fairy tales. Totally not true. We're not dealing with people who are into Bible scholarship. If you talk to any Bible scholar, they'll tell you the opposite. They've actually looked at the actual records, the events, and the artifacts. Okay, so we'll say Ashar Yawam Yehawada, or Happy Day of Judas. Definitely try to enjoy the day if you're able to take off, Tawab. If not, it's still Tawab, since, like I said, it's not a Sabbath. You could still work, but still try to keep the day uh, holy, stay in remembrance of it. If you have time between now and sundown tomorrow, definitely check out those other chapters and check out the background info on the different figures, just for more context. If you if you so desire, if you want to learn more about the day of Judas. All right. So, in short, who are we talking about? We're talking about Judas Maccabeus as well as the Assyrians. We're also talking about Alchemists and Demetrius as well as Nicanor, right? The villains of the story, right? They're fighting. They're fighting with each other. Now Judas is given the victory over this Nicanor, right? Who was sent as a final resort before the guy Bacchades who came before him. Where this happened? This happened in and around Jerusalem, right? In the cities that were nearby, right? In the south of Israel in particular. When did it happen? Around 161, between 161 and part of it goes into 160 BC. Why did it happen? We were at war, right? And we had Judas and his brethren stand up against the wickedness of the Greeks. So that's why we clashed, right? And the Greeks, of course, wanted to seek our land as well as other things while using our own people that sold out to get the advantage, hence alchemists. And how was the victory won? Ultimately through the Lord. Even though Judas was using strategy as any military leader would, he knew that ultimately the Most High would provide the victory. So they exercised the strategy best they could, and when that was exhausted as far as it could, that's when they just left the rest into the hands of the Most High to see the victory through. And that's a good message for us now, to where when we trust in the Most High, we still apply His wisdom as far as deal with things practically, right? Ask the right questions, and before we go into doing certain things. And then when we do our due diligence, before we make our choice, if things still don't work out, then we ask that the Most High, help us through. But showing that we already, tried our best to do things with the resource that we were provided. So that's the key way to approach decision making in righteousness, right? Apply the wisdom of the scriptures, right? Ask the right questions, right? To overcome whatever fear you may have to not knowing what to do or what choice to make. And then once you do due diligence, do your homework, and you say, okay, looks like all my choices, these are good, but this is probably the best way to go. And just pray to the Most High that work out. And if not, at least you can sleep. You can rest easy because you put your best foot forward. And it'll just be a learning experience. And the Most High will teach you through that experience if the choice still doesn't pan out the way you thought. All right. So that will do the closing prayers. Happy day, Judas, Ashar, Yawam, Yahweh. Musaz will talk to everybody tomorrow evening for the first day of Purim. So shalom until then, and enjoy.
Wow.
Can you close the blinds, Baba Bashem?
You turn the heat on, man. You must wasn't cold, huh?
Oh, we're alive. I didn't think about it. Hold on.
It's too late now.
You wouldn't be here. Not leaving right away.
We're gonna be moving around. We're pro sitting down. We're gonna be one of them moving around.
Barakatu Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Yasharana from the now, Parya, Kapan Tuara Aman. Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Yashar Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it to Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. At Madwa, Panyua, Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai, Babakushai, Shemai, Lanawe, I Thay, Yen Yen, I Thay, Shalak, Micah Allah, Walla Allahayim, Tazwadakim, Lashma Ayah, Barak, Rabhai, Magan, Wakaziak, Banya, Yasharala, Washalak, Lanawa, Rabiam, Kakamad, Rabiam, Da'ai, Rabiam, Bayanad, Rabiam, Sabalanwak, Rabiam, Mamawan, Rabiam, Aqua, Rabiam, Mahabiam, Rabiam, Haganad, Rakanaya, Wasalak, Katayam Nawa, La Akim, Wa Akiwak, we are Sha'ala, Tham Yad, Wai Walam, Basham, Yahoshai, the Wadaman. English translation, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, please listen to us now. Right now, send Michael and the righteous powers to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins. For the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever, in the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you, so be it. Four Corners Prayer. Yahweh Basham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha'ala, Wabath Yasaparim, Shema, Yasharala, Yahweh, Elohim Nawa, Yahweh, Achet. English translation. Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, bless us in Israel in the house of books, or the school. And we said, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Now we do the prayer for the food. Yahweh, Gadawa, Basham, Marawanya, Yahweh Shai, Babakushai, Barak, Makal, Yanawa, Shataywa, Yanawa, Yayan, Yanawa, Lacham, Yanawa, Shakarat, Yanawa, Zakhag, Shal, Hayawam, Yahweh, Basham, Yahweh Shai, the Wadaman. All right, so Shalom Yahweh, Yashar Allah. Happy day of Judas, Israel. Have a blessed day. Enjoy the day. And we'll talk to everybody tomorrow evening, most as well, for the first day of Purim. Shalom.
Shalom.